The world awoke to stunning headlines: Ukraine strikes deep, Russian warships sunk, and Moscow rocked by explosions. These were not just routine updates from the front lines, but seismic events that sent shockwaves through capitals around the globe. The news cycle was dominated by urgent reports, analysts scrambling to make sense of what had just unfolded. Explosions rocked the very heart of Moscow, targeting the headquarters of Russian intelligence. The city, long considered untouchable, was suddenly thrust into chaos as fireballs lit up the night sky and emergency sirens wailed through the streets. These weren't isolated incidents, they were a coordinated triple-pronged assault that's changed the perception of this war overnight. The precision and timing of the attacks left no doubt this was a meticulously orchestrated operation designed to send a message. In a single night, Ukraine demonstrated a military capability few thought possible. The world watched as Ukrainian commanders working in high-tech command centers executed a plan that had clearly been in the making for months. The attacks were audacious, meticulously planned, and executed with shocking speed, leaving the Kremlin reeling. Russian officials, caught off guard, scrambled to respond as the scale of the damage became clear. The three targets were chosen for their immense strategic and symbolic value: a state-of-the-art missile corvette, a critical submarine base, both representing the pride of Russia's naval power, and the headquarters of Russia's military intelligence in Moscow, the nerve center of its covert operations. Each strike crippled a different aspect of Russia's war machine: naval power, undersea dominance, and intelligence. The loss of these assets is not just a tactical setback, but a blow to Russia's sense of invulnerability. The scale and complexity of this operation are staggering, revealing a level of intelligence and technological superiority that caught Russia completely off guard. Ukrainian drones and missiles penetrated deep into Russian territory, evading defenses and striking with pinpoint accuracy. For months, the war seemed a grinding stalemate, with both sides locked in brutal trench warfare. Today, that narrative is shattered, replaced by a new reality where the front lines are no longer the only battleground. Ukraine has shown it can bypass the trenches and strike at the heart of its adversary's power, reaching targets once thought untouchable and forcing Russia to rethink its entire defensive posture. The message to Moscow is clear: no part of Russia is safe. The psychological impact on Russian leadership and civilians alike is profound, as the sense of security within their own borders is shattered. This triple strike is more than a tactical victory. It's a profound psychological blow. Russian morale is shaken, and the world is watching to see how the Kremlin will respond to this unprecedented breach. It exposes critical vulnerabilities in Russia's air defense and internal security, raising urgent questions about the effectiveness of their most advanced systems and the safety of their most vital assets. The rules of this war have changed, and Ukraine is now righting them. With this bold operation, Ukraine has redefined what is possible on the modern battlefield, and the world will never see this conflict the same way again. The first blow landed far from Ukraine, in the Baltic Sea near Kaliningrad. The target, the Serpukhov, a $300 million Buyanem-class corvette, a symbol of Russian naval might. Equipped with Kaliber cruise missiles, it was a key asset for projecting Russian power across Europe. Now, it lies broken at the bottom of the sea. The destruction of the Serpukhov is a shocking loss for Russia's navy, demonstrating a vulnerability few anticipated. The ship was thought safe, protected by Kaliningrad's dense air defenses. The attack was swift and violent. Explosions ripped through the hull, igniting missile stores and fuel tanks. Within minutes, the warship slipped beneath the waves. This was an assassination, not a battle, carried out with chilling efficiency. For the Kremlin, it's a public relations nightmare and a grave military setback. The fortress has been breached. The attack on the Serpukhov was no lucky shot. It was a meticulously orchestrated, multi-layered operation that required months of planning, coordination, and flawless execution. Every detail was considered, every move calculated, and nothing was left to chance. 4 critical elements worked in perfect harmony: precise intelligence, advanced electronic warfare, overwhelming long-range air power, and the daring of elite naval commandos. Each component played a vital role, like instruments in a symphony, coming together for a single, devastating performance. For weeks, Ukrainian intelligence teams tracked the Serpukhov's every move, mapping its routines, patrol patterns, and defensive measures. They studied crew changes, supply runs, and even weather conditions, building a comprehensive profile of the ship's vulnerabilities. Ukrainian electronic warfare units then moved in, creating a digital fog that jammed Russian radar and communications. This was done with surgical precision, ensuring the Serpukhov was isolated, blind and deaf, without raising suspicion or triggering alarms. Next, long-range drones, some acting as decoys, others equipped with advanced sensors, approached from multiple directions. They mapped out the ship's air defenses and relayed real-time targeting data. Meanwhile, attack aircraft stealthily laid advanced sea mines directly in the ship's projected path, setting the stage for the final act. The climax came as Ukrainian naval commandos using stealthy submersibles slipped beneath the waves and attached limpet mines to the hull. As the Serpukhov sailed unsuspectingly into the minefield, a series of explosions crippled the warship, leaving it dead in the water. Moments later, the charges planted by the commandos detonated, delivering the final devastating blow. The operation was a true symphony of destruction, flawless, coordinated, and utterly overwhelming. In a single night, Russia's naval dominance in the Baltic was shattered, sending shockwaves through military circles worldwide. The message was clear and chilling: nowhere is safe, and no force is untouchable when faced with such precision and resolve. As news of the Serpukhov spread, Ukraine struck again, this time at a key submarine base near Murmansk. This facility, home to Russia's nuclear-powered submarines, was considered untouchable. Ukraine turned Russia's strength into a weakness. Modified Su-24 jets unleashed a barrage of electromagnetic energy, flooding Russian radar with phantom aircraft and jamming communications. While defenses were overwhelmed, stealthy maritime drones surged toward the harbor, laying smart mines and jamming sonar. Simultaneously, Neptune missiles targeted command centers and communication arrays. The result: total paralysis. Russian commanders couldn't see, communicate, or move their ships. Planes, drones, and missiles worked in perfect harmony, each creating openings for the next. The base was left deaf, blind, and vulnerable. Ukraine's mastery of multi-domain warfare was on full display. Russia's strategic deterrent was exposed. Russia tried to counterattack, activating Bastion and Bal coastal defense systems to destroy incoming Ukrainian drones, but Ukraine was ready. Electronic warfare aircraft shifted tactics, jamming the guidance frequencies of Russian missiles. Russian operators saw targets, but the moment missiles launched, their locks were broken, fed false data by Ukrainian jammers. Decoy drones mimicked the signatures of real attack drones and missiles, drawing Russian fire. The sky over the Barents Sea became a theater of deception. Russian missiles chased worthless decoys, while real threats continued unimpeded. It was an expensive, humiliating failure for Russia. Ukraine's electronic shield neutralized Russia's primary defenses, allowing near impunity. Jamming and decoys created an offensive shield, blinding and confusing the enemy. Ukraine didn't overpower Russian defenses, it outsmarted them. Russia's billion-dollar arsenal was rendered useless. The bear was left swinging wildly in the dark. As Russia reeled from coastal attacks, Ukraine launched its boldest strike yet. On the GRU headquarters in Moscow, the aquarium, nerve center of Russian military intelligence, was considered impregnable. The assault began with jet-powered stealth drones striking power substations, communication towers, and Spetsnaz barracks, isolating the GRU HQ. Amid chaos, a column of unmarked Ukrainian armored vehicles, manned by special forces in Russian uniforms, blasted through security checkpoints. The speed and violence of the assault overwhelmed defenders. Armored vehicles smashed through perimeters, creating a breach for infantry teams. Their mission: penetrate the building, destroy sensitive intelligence hardware, and withdraw. Ukrainian tanks were on the ground in Moscow, fighting their way into the heart of Russian intelligence. The unthinkable was happening. Inside the perimeter, Ukrainian assault teams moved with brutal efficiency. T-84 tanks provided covering fire as special forces breached reinforced walls and doors. Fighting devolved into intense close-quarters combat with elite Spetsnaz guards. Ukrainian teams split into units. One disabled security systems, another targeted server rooms and data archives with thermite charges. Their goal: lobotomize the GRU. The battle was chaotic: smoke, gunfire, and destruction everywhere. Ukrainians cleared rooms with precision, destroying files and electronics as they advanced. It was a race against time. Russian reinforcements were closing in. After 45 minutes, the withdrawal signal was given. The teams fell back to their vehicles, having wrecked the GRU's data centers and communications. The psychological damage was immense. Russia's most sensitive sanctum had been breached. The impact of these strikes goes far beyond material loss. The sinking of a warship, the crippling of a naval base, and the raid on Moscow's intelligence HQ are devastating, but the true damage is psychological. The Kremlin's image of impenetrable strength is shattered. In one night, Ukraine destroyed the illusion of safety within Russia's borders. Vulnerability is now palpable across the country. The psychological shield of distance is gone. Russia must now divert resources to defend hundreds of targets deep inside its own territory. Elite units and air defenses are stretched thin, pulled away from the front. The attacks undermine the credibility of Russian leadership and expose deep incompetence. The erosion of trust among Russia's own population may prove even more destabilizing than the military losses. The triple strike operation will be studied for decades, a watershed moment in modern warfare. It was not just a display of firepower, but a demonstration of how modern conflicts are shaped by precision, intelligence, and the ability to strike unexpectedly. The world watched as Ukraine executed a plan that rewrote the rules of engagement, sending shockwaves through military circles everywhere. Ukraine has evolved into a military power capable of projecting force deep into Russian territory. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It's the result of relentless innovation, international support, and a determination to defend its sovereignty at any cost. Ukrainian forces now operate with a level of sophistication that rivals some of the world's most advanced militaries. This was no opportunistic attack, it was a perfectly synchronized operation, blending technology, tactics, and courage. Every element was meticulously planned, from the timing of the strikes to the integration of cyber and electronic warfare. Ukrainian commanders coordinated assets across land, air, and cyberspace, ensuring maximum impact with minimal risk. Ukraine has shown it can hold Russia's most strategic assets at risk. No longer are Russian command centers, air defenses, or naval vessels safe from precision strikes. The psychological effect on Russian leadership and military planners is profound, forcing them to rethink their own security. The key: mastery of asymmetric, multi-domain warfare, blinding, evading, and overwhelming Russian defenses. By combining drone swarms, cyber attacks, and electronic jamming, Ukraine has created a layered offensive that is difficult to predict and even harder to stop. This is not trench warfare, it's fast, smart, and dynamic. The battlefield is constantly shifting, with Ukrainian units exploiting every technological advantage to outmaneuver and outthink their adversaries. Speed and adaptability have become their greatest weapons. Russia must now defend the homeland as a primary concern. The threat is no longer distant, it's at their doorstep, forcing a massive redeployment of resources and a new sense of vulnerability among Russian citizens and leaders alike. Ukraine has forced a strategic shift, achieving victory by demonstrating reach, not by taking territory. The ability to strike anywhere, at any time, has changed the calculus of the conflict, making traditional front lines less relevant than ever before. By striking at symbols of Russian power, Ukraine has asserted its agency and shaped the conflict's future. These actions send a powerful message to both allies and adversaries. Ukraine will not be intimidated, and it will continue to innovate and adapt. The message is clear. The price of this war will be paid not just on Ukrainian soil, but in Moscow itself. For the first time in generations, the heart of Russia feels the consequences of its actions, and the world is witnessing a new era in the art of war.